So at the end here, 15 years, I stand before you in this very long speech. Honored, humbled, and super tired, ready for a cocktail. I am also very, very honored to have you all here with me because I am excited for the future. I know that together we will continue to serve those who have sacrificed so much. And together, as we stand right now and forever, ladies and gentlemen, we will.
I sit here just trying to think. I could barely think. It's been 15 years doing this. I'm sitting here looking out at this field with all these flags and volunteers and right now empty chairs, but it's almost surreal. This whole thing started from an idea that I had simply because I was a normal person, just going to work, doing my thing, getting paid to do a job, and there was a lot of people that I knew that were coming home from the wars overseas, and they weren't the same as when they left. I started to hear about others that were falling through the cracks, and I recognized in my own life that I had it pretty made considering where I was. I just graduated college. I had a girlfriend who's not my wife at the time. Everything was going pretty well, but there was this feeling, this knowing that I really hadn't done much for anybody except myself, and it really affected me to the point where I tried to figure out what to do, and I went different ways and thought about different things, but I finally landed on the fact that I wanted to try to make a difference in somebody else's life. I talked to my girlfriend and let's just do it, and it just so happened that I got laid off from the job I was working, so I kind of had some free time on my hands, and I put two and two together, and I contacted a lawyer to figure out what would happen with a nonprofit, 501c3 and all that. And before I knew it, and as I remember it, we were just putting together all the paperwork, and all of a sudden this idea came, well, we're in the midst of these wars overseas, and there's nonprofits springing up left and right, and they're raising so much money, doing everything under the sun. And I think I was asked, it might have been by my girlfriend, like, what are you gonna do? And the only thing I could think about was, I'm just going to get on my motorcycle and ride around the country, and I am going to raise $1 million. And she said, that sounds great. And that was the idea, and started to really come into play. We built the nonprofit around this idea. We didn't really even know what to call it. All we knew is we were going to organize this thing, and we're going to go, and whoever we tell, they're just going to be like floored that somebody's doing this, and they're going to raise all this money. And our goal originally was $1 million. That first year, we were just going to ride around the country and raise $1 million, and then we were going to give it all away, and we were going to do it again. Fast forward that story. And the day that I was scheduled to take off, we had worked with a local Harley-Davidson dealer, and the dealer promised all these things, and everything was going to be great. And Facebook was just sort of starting to come in. I mean, for me, it was kind of a new thing. We didn't know how to use it. We tried poorly, so we didn't really know what to expect. And that morning, I showed up at this dealership, ready to go around the country. The dealership was closed. They totally forgot that we were even coming, and it was crushing. It absolutely turned me upside down. I didn't know if I should go or stay or what. And I looked at my girlfriend, she didn't want me to go, my parents didn't want me to go, and I had to go. I don't know why, I just did. Maybe because I was mad and I needed to get on my motorcycle and just ride fast down to Illinois. I don't know. But I did. I got on my bike, I rode maybe an hour, crossed the border, and it started to pour. So I thought, this is just it. I'm barely gonna get through Chicago, and I'm gonna have to turn home. But I just kind of kept going, and I noticed behind me some flickering lights, and I thought it was just some crazy person who was trying to get me out of the road. I noticed it was my girlfriend, and she had followed me all the way into Indiana to my first stop. We talked, and by the end of the talk, she gave me the strength to push it on down the road. And so I did. I get a little worked up thinking about that, and I continued on. Everything went wrong from start to finish. My bike broke down in the middle of, or somewhere in Ohio, outside of Mentor. State police had to come and rescue me. My bike was dead. My phone was dead. I was literally sitting on my motorcycle in the middle of a cornfield. There's not a building in sight. Totally lost. No map. Just the clothes on my back and a little suitcase and a dead motorcycle. Eventually got through that thanks to the state police who hung on to me, followed me to my hotel room with the tow truck. The next day, everything was good, back on the road, but it rained all the way to the East Coast. And then the sun came out and it got scorching hot. I mean, 90 plus degrees all the way to Florida. And then it was 110 degrees and humid somewhere around Missouri. I think it was Joplin. And I was running out of money. I made the decision to cross over the Mississippi after hitting every single state east of the Mississippi. And it was in Kansas that I decided I can't go on any further. I'm out of money. I shouldn't fund this anymore. The dream is dead. I need to go home. And so I talked to Tail and came all the way home, and everything was cool. All of a sudden, my good friend who was controlling the finances for the nonprofit reached out to me and said, "Hey, Bill, what am I supposed to do with this account? You know, you got $1,200 or something like that. You know, it's $2,100 sitting in this account. What do you want me to do with it?" And that was the money that I had raised over my sad trip across the United States. And I said, I don't know, but it's not my money. We got to give it to somebody. So I called up the local Milwaukee VA hospital. I told them what we had done, what we had raised, and I said we'd like to give this to a couple of veterans who need it. You know, that's why we raised it. And they said, yeah, okay. And they went out and they found 3 families who were in desperate need of money. The veteran of the family, all 3 families, they couldn't work, they had no income, and all the conversations played out over that last quarter of the year, and they called me up and said, okay, everything's ready. When can you guys come in? And the date just so happened to be, you know, just a little bit before Christmas. So my little team and I and my girlfriend, we showed up at the VA hospital, and it was snowing like crazy. And we walked in there, and they sat us down in this little tiny room. I mean, it was barely fit 4 people in there, and they brought each family in one at a time. And we got to talk to the family about who we were, who they were, and at the end of the conversation, we slid a check across the table. It was basically a check made out to the family. There was no strings attached. Each family got $700. And $700 is a lot of money, but it's not life-changing. And for a family of, I think the biggest family was 3, it's not going to make a big dent. But the gratitude that was expressed back to us over that table was tears. I mean, the whole room was in tears and crying and happy and joyous. And one of the veterans said, of all the things wrong in my life, he's like, the one thing that is killing me right now is that I can't find my kids. And I said, now you can. And they did. It's awesome. There's a lot of feelings. But we walked out of that VA hospital, and everybody felt the way that I feel right now. And we decided, you know what, we got to do it. So we sat down and we figured out what we could do to make it better, to make it actually work. And we realized that me riding around on a motorcycle would have 0 impact on anybody. Like, nobody cares who I am. But we realized that maybe instead of me, it could be a flag, the flag of the United States. And that was when the Patriot Tour actually began.
They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us this evening, and so we remember them. The table is set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against its oppressors. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith, awaiting their return. Remember. The red ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel and breast of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. Remember. The candle. The candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. Remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember. There is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this night. Remember. Chair. The chair is empty. They are not here. Remember. Remember. All of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended upon their life and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember. Remember. Until the day they come home. Remember.